Hello, I'm SurferClock.
And I'm TAP-G.
And welcome to What's the Attraction?
Where our work is your vacation.
Hello, and welcome to our first episode, folks, where we review, critique, and discuss theme park attractions in the Central Florida area. Today, we...
Whoa.
Wait, what?
Whoa. Something's not right here.
Yeah.
Haven't we done this before? Has the universe finally reached its limit and imploded upon itself? Did Zool find Gozer? Has the doctor come to take us away? Are our bases belonging to us? Is Snow White the fierce one of all? Is it secret? Is it safe?
TAP-G, would you get a grip? Everything is fine.
Really? So I didn't waste my money earlier last year by seeing Man of Steel in 3D?
Most everything is fine. But seriously, it's okay. Remember what I told you this morning?
Of course I do! Why don't you explain it to our listeners, since you're better at explaining this kind of thing?
Fine. Look, we promised you guys, our listeners, that if we reached 100 likes on Facebook, we would redo our first 5 episodes. And today, it's our premiere episode. Our first 5 episodes that you can see earlier on YouTube are kind of long, disorganized in several parts, and very rambly. So we decided to recut them just for you. And starting with our very first episode, the Big Three.
Yeah, the Big Three, yeah, that's what I was going to say, all that, Big Three.
No, you can't just take the last few words. You know what, never mind. Let's do this with the history of SeaWorld Orlando first.
After the success of SeaWorld in San Diego in 1964, SeaWorld opened another park in Ohio. But when word got out about Disney building another park in Central Florida, SeaWorld decided to get in on the action. Barely 2 years after Disney opened to the public, SeaWorld Orlando opened December 15, 1973. Back then, SeaWorld was operated by 4 UCLA grads: Milton Shedd, Ken Norris, David Dermott, and George Millay.
From 1976 to 1989, SeaWorld was owned by Harcourt Brace Jovanovich, a publishing company, where the third SeaWorld park in San Antonio was opened. But by then, the company was facing bankruptcy. It ended up being sold to Anheuser-Busch, which by that time was operating the Busch Gardens theme parks. Because when you think alcohol, you think of cetaceans.
By the late 90s, the park had done little over the years to enhance or refurbish the SeaWorld Orlando experience. In 2006, Shamu's Happy Harbor offered more rides than previously offered, and roller coasters like Kraken and Manta boosted attendance. But in 2009, Busch Entertainment was purchased by Belgian-based InBev, a company that brews Stella Artois. InBev's interests were not in owning theme parks, however. So who would get ownership of SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, Discovery Cove, and Aquatica? Come on. Disney, Six Flags, Universal. No, not PETA. No. Yes! Blackstone Group, I know it! Who the flying heck is the Blackstone Group?
Well, let's see. According to the Wikipedia article, it says that the Blackstone Group is, quote, an American multinational private equity investment banking, alternative asset management, and financial services corporation. So essentially, they're a money company. It makes sense to me. When I think cetaceans, I totally think mezzanine funds.
Over the years, SeaWorld has been lauded for its rescue and rehabilitation efforts worldwide, but animal rights groups like PETA were frequently suspicious of SeaWorld's practices in keeping orcas and dolphins captive. In 2010, one of SeaWorld Orlando's orcas, Tilikum, mauled and killed his trainer, sparking nationwide outrage against the aquatic park. The press had a field day, especially PETA, the guys who go nuts because Super Mario wears a Tanuki suit.
In 2013, an independent documentary called Blackfish premiered, focusing on the supposed controversy behind SeaWorld's killer whale captivity and the 2010 death of Tilikum's trainer, Don Branchell. Not long after the film's release on CNN and Netflix, nearly a dozen big-name musical acts declined to perform at SeaWorld, citing the documentary as a resource. While it's too early to say if this will affect SeaWorld's business in the long term, it's certainly quite the speed bump in SeaWorld's history. But now we ask this: what is SeaWorld's approach as a theme park, and how does it differ from Universal and Disney?
Well, SeaWorld has their mission statement has always been education through entertainment.
Definitely.
Do they succeed in that?
Most definitely.
Yeah, I know I can get entertained when I go to SeaWorld. And regardless of your feelings for the park, you can't argue that A, they've done a lot to rescue and rehabilitate a lot of wild, injured animals, and most people who would never know the majesty of seeing a killer whale, a walrus, or a dolphin, or a penguin, unless they go to a place like SeaWorld and see them in their habitat.
I mean, you have to think there are at least 20 or 30 states that are pretty landlocked.
Yeah.
So, not a whole lot of opportunities for ocean going.
No.
So, SeaWorld does provide a lot of good opportunities. SeaWorld does provide a very laid-back environment, which I really like.
Yeah, it's not as intense or in your face as something like Universal or in some Disney parks.
And they don't force the merchandise so badly either.
No.
Both Disney and Universal are very merchandise happy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think SeaWorld kind of steps back from that. Although their food is really expensive, it's also really good.
Yeah. And one thing they definitely focus on more than anything is the interaction of animals. They want you to conserve these animals and keep them around at least for another generation. And so they have you pet the dolphins and feed the sea lions, and so that way you can see these animals again in future generations. And
because really, to touch something is to know something.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are far more kinesthetic learners out there in the world than once previously thought. It's something that you can do. You know, it's what you can do versus simply reading about something.
Or watching it.
Exactly.
You can only watch so many documentaries and read so many National Geographics, and then finally when you see a killer whale, it's like, whoa.
You don't have an idea of the true scope of anything until you actually get to go and witness it with your own eyes, not through a video, not through a YouTube video, but to actually be there. Mm-hmm. That is a large part of what SeaWorld provides.
And of course, they still provide a few attractions like Kraken, Manta, and Journey to Atlantis. And let's be honest, this is a means to reach out to the people who aren't as impressed with ocean biology. And I'm glad they do that too.
It is nice, but I feel like SeaWorld doesn't really have to step that up so much. Mm-hmm, because it's not a theme park, it's an adventure park.
Yeah, they're not under any sort of obligation.
True.
So anyway, that's our views on SeaWorld Orlando.
Alright, next one on the docket, Universal Orlando Resort. How did it go from a small park in Southern California to Disney's biggest Floridian competitor? Well, let's take a look.
Universal Studios have been planning a movie theme park in Florida for just up the road for Disney for a few years, but plans were kicked into overdrive when Disney announced their own movie theme park in their massive Florida property. And they're off! Eisner searches ahead. But what's this? Ooh, Spielberg is stuck in a meeting over Back to the Future and King Kong. But what's this? They're using that pre-established knowledge from Universal Hollywood to speed things up. But Eisner's got a trick or two up his sleeve. He's chatting up MGM Studios. It looks like he's gonna be a close one, folks. Ooh, Doc Brown from Back to the Future is hosting a behind-the-scenes video showing off the new rides. And television film production starts in Florida already. But what's this? Universal is claiming Eisner stole their ideas for Disney MGM Studios. This is just the kind of distraction Disney needs as they surge ahead and across the finish line! And in second place is Universal, 13 months later on June 7th, 1990. What a race, Universal. Now that you've pulled in second, what are you gonna do next?
I'm going to Disney World!
Oh, awkward.
Well, maybe the original designers of the rides did, because summer of 1990 was not a smooth one. Jaws, Confrontation, and Earthquake the Big One, the park's headliner attractions, were constantly suffering major technical difficulties. But Universal bought themselves more time by giving out vouchers to return back when the park was less technical problem-y and more operational. In 1991, Universal rebounded with several new shows, its first Halloween Horror Nights, then known as Fright Nights, and its Grand Slam attraction, Back to the Future, The Ride. Looks like Universal may just be a threat to your attendance, Disney. What do you say to that?
Yeah, cusses. You might think you've won now, Universal, but just you wait. Bust out the mouse here thinking caps, gentlemen. I'll get you my pretty, and you'll do DeLorean too, yeah!
But in an effort to expand its use of licensed characters, and possibly a means to stand up to Disney, Universal opened its sister park, Islands of Adventure, in 1999, licensing characters from Marvel Comics, Jay Ward, Dr. Seuss, and King Feature Syndicates, which distributes comic strips like Blondie, Marmaduke, Hagar the Horrible, Popeye, and others. Does this daunt Disney?
Yeah, you think adding another park makes you a big shot, eh, short stuff? You couldn't handle a major film franchise like Pirates of the Caribbean, even if you wanted to.
Oh, Alaka, shut up. It was time to beat magic with magic. After Disney and British author J.K. Rowling parted ways, the Harry Potter novelist took her properties to Universal Studios. In 2010, Universal Orlando opened the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, replacing much of Islands of Adventure's Lost Continent area. For the first time in Florida history, Universal beat Disney at its own attendance game. Even the critics went nuts over its Disney-like theming, Disney-like technology, and Disney-like attention to detail.
Yeah, curses, foiled again. You haven't seen the last of me, Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. Sick 'em, Stitch! Attack, or I won't refurbish your attraction for another decade!
Okay then. So, how does Universal's approach differ from that of SeaWorld or even Disney?
Yeah!
Oh, stop it.
Okay.
Universal's approach, first and foremost, they've always been pretty action-packed.
Oh, yeah.
It's, Universal's thing has always been ride the movies.
So you're a part of the movies, you're not a passive observer.
You're getting in there, you're helping E.T. to save the Green Planet. Then you go and zap aliens and Men in Black Alien attack.
You become a minion. You help stop the Mummy. You're riding along with the Simpsons as they go crashing through Krusty Land.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, and it's an approach that definitely brings in a lot of the older crowd.
Very much so. It's the one demographic that Disney has a lot of trouble reaching out to.
And SeaWorld just kind of does its own thing.
Yeah.
And tends to reach out to most demographics, but it never quite hits any of them.
Yeah.
Whereas Universal knows it's for an older audience, and one of Universal's big advertising things, not currently, but it always kind of has been, is you can experience Orlando's most thrilling attraction.
Yeah.
So, they've always been about thrills and everything like that. And, yeah, they do have things for kids. Arguably less things for kids now that Nickelodeon Studios is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Universal, what it really does right is that it has a little bit for everyone.
That it does.
And although there are a lot of height restrictions, I think you have more height restrictions there than certainly you do at Disney.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, between all four parks, you have almost more height restrictions, but only because Disney might beat them out only because they have more parks.
Yeah.
And if I may be allowed to make a rather odd comparison, I consider Universal the Cedar Point of Orlando.
Really?
I mean, there are up-and-comers like Fun Spot, which are getting more roller coasters, certain things like that. But to me, Universal will always feel like that major park, just like Cedar Park is a major part of Ohio.
Mm-hmm. I really do enjoy going to Universal Studios because I like just how wild and different they are from Disney. They're much more intense. They're much more in your face. They're very relevant in a lot of ways. That Disney does a lot of jokes and a lot of references that cover for everybody. But Universal says, you know what? We can pick and choose who we want to target, and that's where it succeeds. And I do love how it's more involved attractions than it is at, say, Hollywood Studios. Where Hollywood Studios, you watch Indiana Jones Save the Day, you follow C-3PO to the Galactic Empire, and you watch how Disney animation is made. Whereas over Universal, you are the action.
Yeah, because you are actively participating in things versus Hollywood Studios, where you're getting to witness a lot of greatness. But other than maybe Toy Story Midway Mania, where you are playing the Midway games,
yeah,
not really that much for you to do.
No, not at all.
Honestly, the closest you get to a starring role, in my opinion, at Hollywood Studios is the Backlot Tour.
Yeah.
I mean, because you get to survive Catastrophe Canyon.
But even that's a pretty big stretch, sadly. Or you get to explore the world of dirt and grass in the Honey I Shrunk the Kids movie set adventure. Coming soon. The question is, does it succeed?
I believe it does, and I think Universal has the numbers to prove it.
That it does. Thank you, Harry Potter. And now, the elephant in the room. Oh, hi, Dumbo. The Walt Disney World Resort. After all, neither Shamu or Woody Woodpecker would have put their roots down in the Sunshine State had Disney not put Mickey and the gang down there to begin with. So let's historyify.
Walt Disney loved his California Disneyland, but with the cramped crowding of urban development around the park, Uncle Walt got frustrated. He flew to Florida in the early 60s to scout out land in Central Florida, near the soon-to-be-built Florida Turnpike.
He saw a lot of potential among the swamps, the alligators, and the acres of groves that grow senior citizens who drive too slow in the fast lane with their blinkers on.
Ow. Dude, seriously? Not cool. Anyway, Walt Disney died in 1966, and his brother Roy forged ahead with the Great Florida Project. In 1971, the Magic Kingdom opened to critical acclaim and boosted Disney's post-Walt public image. But not long after, Disney started fulfilling another one of Walt's final visions, Epcot Center.
While Walt pictured it as a utopian society full of cutting-edge technology, the Imagineers were a decade or two away from creating a self-sustaining community of futuristic influence. So, it was made into a theme park. Part World's Fair, part showcase of future technology. Though a sure departure from typical Magic Kingdom-style Disney fare, it gained public acceptance over the years for its originality, unique rides, and more mature tone, opening in 1982.
But not long into Epcot's run, plans were made to erect a pavilion in Future World going behind the scenes of the magic of movie making. But the idea quickly outgrew the building's parameters. Maybe Disney should build a park around the idea of movie making, but don't hear it from Universal Studios. They'll just say Disney stole the idea.
Yeah, Disney is stealing my idea. I must retreat to my evil lair and scheme my next move. Quick, to the DeLorean!
Wait, you're using that voice for Universal too? Kinda confusing, isn't it?
What? We're supposed to be impartial, aren't we?
Fair enough. Anyway, Disney MGM Studios opened in 1989, and even though it was pretty limited in terms of attractions, it expanded a lot in the 90s to include hit headliner attractions like the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror and the Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. Now, in 2008, when the contract with MGM ended, Disney chose not to renew its collaboration with the park, and soon became Disney's Hollywood Studios.
In 1998, Disney opened its fourth and newest park, Disney's Animal Kingdom, to celebrate the animals of Mother Earth, the animals of today, the animals of yesterday, dinosaurs, and the animals of myth. A whole land was dedicated to dragons, unicorns, and griffins called the Beastly Kingdom was under development for years until the project was shut down and the Imagineers of the project left for Universal's Lost Continent. Since opening, the park has added more whole lands, like Asia in 1999, and James Cameron's World of Avatar, set to replace the temporary land of Camp Minnie Mickey in 2017, a land that was merely a placeholder because Beastly Kingdom never came to be.
So, how do the aspects and approaches of each of Disney's 4 parks differ or complement each other?
I think complement each other is the best way to put this. Disney has been so expansive over the years that they've been allowed to expand to all these different fields of magic, into discovery, into action, and into animals.
Well, why don't we talk about Disney as a whole? Because Disney, I find, is great for high-energy families who don't want to have to deal with the words no or can't. Disney is so incredibly accommodating that you can practically do just about anything.
But what do you mean high energy?
Well, there are 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, miniature golf courses, and so much more.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to have a lot of energy to be able to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that Disney is really best for the family who's got a ton of energy to spare.
Yeah, that's true. The one thing about Disney that everyone knows is that Disney appeals to everyone. They appeal to kids, they appeal to adults, and they appeal to a lot of teenagers and young adults, but that's a tougher field to get into, and for the reason why Universal Studios has been so successful.
Sure.
And it works, but it needs someone like Universal to take some of the stress off its shoulders.
Well, not really the stress so much as it puts a lot of stress on Disney so that they continue to get better.
Yeah. So, but we still need Universal to counteract that.
Certainly.
And it works. By God, it works. Disney is still renowned as one of the best parks in the world, and of course, Walt Disney World remains the antithesis of theme parks as a whole in the industry.
What can we say? They are a legend, and really, when you distill it all down to the very basics, it's the foundation of good family fun.
Now, even though we compared Hollywood Studios and Universal Studios, I still want to ask, how does Animal Kingdom compare to SeaWorld?
Well, the two are quite different in just what they can approach. I think Animal Kingdom was wise to kind of stay away from like aquatic and sea stuff.
Yeah. That shtick was already taken as a whole.
Yeah. Well, SeaWorld is about the world of the ocean, which does cover a majority of the Earth. So I feel like they have a much bigger mission as a whole because water does make up so much of the world.
Yeah, but there's a difference regardless of environment. Animal Kingdom focuses a lot on the world of animals and how humans have damaged their impact on the world. Yeah. SeaWorld, on the other hand, they're more about, hey, we're humans and we can make the difference. We can make a change. In fact, you said something along those lines earlier, didn't you?
Well, SeaWorld is more along the lines of humans' positive influence on the environment and look how much better things are and how much better we can strive to make things. Whereas Animal Kingdom really kind of ironically focuses on a lot of the negatives.
Yeah, think about it. Like, it's tough to be a bug. Hopper talks about how extermination and bug zappers. Kali River Rapids is about deforestation. Dinosaur is about, hey, dinosaurs are dead. and humans screwing with the laws of nature, or messing around with the laws of nature.
And the laws of time.
Yeah. But SeaWorld is more about, look at the majesty of this creature, and this is what we can do to protect this creature.
Now, there is a little bit of negativity in SeaWorld as far as having to rescue animals. It's usually because of something a human has done.
Yeah.
Like,
oil spills.
Well, yeah, oil spills, there's that. There's people going too quickly in manatee zones and damaging manatees, which they have to rescue.
And that's something very near and dear to our hearts since we live in Florida.
It's just, I feel like SeaWorld has a lot of very positive focus, and and for that, it can be one of those parks where it's more laid back and kind of, it very gently invites you into these things. Whereas I feel like Animal Kingdom sometimes sort of just throws you into a situation.
Sure, but it's Disney.
Yeah.
Disney is supposed to have that slight edge to it, more than SeaWorld, but less than Universal.
Certainly.
And that is definitely one of the charms of Disney. So anyway, that's pretty much all we have to discuss about these parks. Well, folks, thanks for letting us repeat our first episode. We still have 4 more on the way, so stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll keep good on our promise to deliver the best Florida attraction reviewing podcast we want to be for you.
So, thanks again for listening, folks. As always, I'm SurferClock.
I'm totally experiencing deja vu.
And we're What's the Attraction?
Where our work is your vacation. Here's to a great 2014.
And how.